In Plants vs Zombies are a lot of types of plants. For example, plants that damage zombies, produce sun, or support for the player. But among all these, the plants that stand out the most are the ones that are very efficient at the moment of playing, either to support, attack, or any other role they fulfill in a team, taking into account each level in which they're used. Unless we take into account all the plants in general in a single video. But today we will only take into consideration the first plants of the game, and we will only take into account the use for the first game, which will make the decision much easier. I will also take into account the performance of the plant in the adventure mode, as well as in the minigames and pestles that are in the original game. That said, this is based on my personal opinion, so feel free to leave your list of plants in the comments. So, with all this cleared up, let's start with the video. In 8th place we have Peshotter. Oh, Peshotter, what can I say that hasn't already been said? Anyway, Peshotter is not a very good plant. It only deals normal damage to each zombie, and is a plant we get at the start of the game. But it only serves at the beginning of the game. That is, for the rest of the game, there will be better options to choose from, like Pop Shroom or Repeater. And you can even play without the Peshotter, using a strategy that's faster and cheaper to execute, and a plant with the same price that deals even double the damage. This plant is good, but every time you pass a level, you get better plants. Sadly, most of these plants are better at almost everything the Peshotter does, and some of them have the same abilities as Peshotter, but better, although it has improved in the sequel and other spin-offs of the franchise. In the first game, it's a plant that isn't very useful, especially since they're plants that do its job, but better. In 7th place we have Cherry Bomb. The Cherry Bomb is, in summary, an explosive plant that costs 150 sun and explodes in a 3x3 area. While its price is very affordable, it's understood that, being explosive, you can't abuse its power, and therefore, its recharge time is very slow. Emphasis on slow, because for the Cherry Bomb to be usable again, we need to wait exactly 50 seconds to use it again if our game lasts more than one wave. And not only that, but the same happens with the Peshotter, as there are better plants that do its job, like Jalapeno and Doom Shroom. But, being a plant that deals a lot of damage to zombies, and can save a player in a few, not many, cases, it's placed in this spot. In 6th place we have Snow Pea. The Snow Pea does the same thing as Peshotter, but with the condition that the projectiles it shoots are made of ice, which makes this plant somewhat useful in various parts of the game, such as mini-games, with the adventure mode, and even in some puzzles. The problem is that there are two plants that do the same thing but better, like the Ice Shroom and Winter Melon, although the latter is more used in the last battalion due to its high price, and the former is more commonly used for the final battle against Dr. Zombies. Still, that doesn't take away from the fact that it's the cheapest plant in this position, which, along with others, can deal more damage or slow down the zombies' arrival at the house, making the game relatively slower. But if you know how to play it correctly, it can become a very useful plant, as it slows and deals damage to the enemy, even though it has a somewhat high price at the beginning of the game. In 5th place we have Walnut. The walnut, as we all know, is the first defense we have in the game, and is very useful for setting up our defense in a lane where we have a problem, whether we don't have plants or we have a zombie that's very resistant. It's very helpful because they're plants that need protection to stay alive in the game, and several of these plants tend to have low health or need a zombie to be on top of them to deal damage. That said, it gets replaced by many players once they unlock the Tall Nut, and I agree with that, because the Tall Nut has a slow recharge time of 30 seconds and its job is the same as the regular walnut, only it's much more expensive, and prevents zombies like the pole vaulting zombie or the dolphin rider zombie from easily passing through your defenses. So, even though this plant is very cheap, it can do its job correctly if there are zombies that can pass it easily and destroy your defense. There are even two better plants for defending your plants. They're more expensive, they can do their job better. In fourth place we have chompers. Well, I know many will be upset. But, even though you can finish off most zombies just by eating them, the reason it's in this position is because of the time it takes to eat a zombie, which is 42 seconds, less than the cherry bomb. But this plant doesn't have very good durability, having toughness similar to a peshotter, and it can't regenerate health when eating a zombie or increase its health, depending on the time or the zombie it's eating. Rather, it depends on the plant from the previous position and other defensive plants like pumpkin are tall enough to devour zombies without them dealing damage to it. That said, it has a recharge time of 7.5 seconds, so we can plant it if we have the necessary sun. In summary, it's a good plant, not only because it eliminates most enemies just by eating them, but because it has a very fast recharge time, but it depends on others to avoid being eaten by zombies. In third place we have Repeater. The Repeater does the same thing as peshotter, but instead of one projectile, it shoots 2 peas. It still costs the same as peshotter, but this time it's double the cost. That is, instead of 100 sun, it costs 200. And it doesn't take up as much space as 2 peshotters, and has a better strategy with plants like torchwood, and can even be upgraded. Though it's the last plant unlocked before Puff Shroom, or the last thematic plant of its world before the next world. And that's why I believe that, although it hasn't been a plant you can take on every level and minigame due to its high cost, it deserves third place on this list. In second place we have Sunflower. The Sunflower, the sun producer par excellence in the first game, and in most levels of this one. It costs 50 sun and has a recharge time of 7.5 seconds. And what more can I tell you about this plant that hasn't been said? Does it have an upgrade that does the same thing, but instead of giving you 1 sun, it gives you 2? Or that even the solar shroom isn't as good as the Sunflower? Or that the best way to use it is by making 2 columns of the same? Well, there's also the fact that it doesn't attack, but that's not its purpose. This plant is exclusively for support, and its only goal is to give you suns worth 25 each. And while that might not seem like much, it can help the player a lot by allowing you to plant several other plants you've chosen for the field. Plus, the fact that the game goes slowly is a good thing, as you can think more carefully about which plants you can spend your sun on. For example, a coffee bean to take the powerful Doom Shroom and wreak havoc on the field. Anyway, it's a very good plant, and in this game, it's necessary to have one. Second place for the Sunflower. In first place we have Potato Mine. Well, here we are. You all know this plant is simply the best of all, even though its recharge is slow, or that it doesn't have the same range as a cherry bomb. The Potato Mine is probably the best plant in the entire game. And one of the plants you get at the start. Well, it helps you collect sun faster, since this plant only costs 25 sun, and most of the time the first zombie you encounter in most levels and minigames is a basic zombie, and this can leave a zombie stein severely damaged so another explosive plant can finish it off. Even helping you out of tight spots, it makes the Potato Mine the best plant of all in the daytime levels. First place for the Potato Mine. And well guys, that's all for this video. If you like this one, and other videos that are also on the way, leave a like, comment your own list, if you don't agree with mine, and subscribe to the channel. I'm sure I'll be doing a part 2 with the shrooms, who knows? Well, I'll say goodbye. I'm Jano MegaXD, and I'll see you next time. Bye.